What is up, guys? So recently I've came back to public servers and played a lot of matches and games on public server, and I've seen a lot of noobs or beginner SDS players. They are quite confused of what to do, and they are doing the wrong thing for a long time, and it just honestly makes my heart swallow and break. So today I will be telling you guys 10 tips and tricks in order to get good at Super Doomspire and be a pro. And yeah, if you're confused on what to do as a beginner Super Doomspire player, then you guys clicked on the right video, because today I'm gonna help you guys get good. And yeah, let's just get straight into the video, guys. So firstly, I've seen a lot of noobs. They just use the rocket and sword, and they barely use Super Ball and Trowel, or they just don't use them. And guys, I'm here to tell you that always use your Super Ball and Trowel, because they are so useful, and polyhacks on the dev, they added it for a reason, guys. So use them. And sometimes I even prefer Super Ball and Trowel over rockets and sword in special occasions. So just briefly going through, Super Ball is mainly used for either DPSing your opponent down or either assisting. So regular Super Balls or Coconut Skin, which is like legit the best Super Ball, is used for assisting and ragdolling. So ragdolling makes you combo them better because they get stunned, and maybe if you're lucky they will just go down to the wall and go bye bye, and you get one extra KO. So for DPSing, the two widely used Super Ball are either the Bow Shuriken or the Banana Rang or the Reskins, because it just does a lot of damage. It hits, and who doesn't like extra damage, guys? Be real. So for Trowel, the Trowel is usually used for two main purposes. One for void saving, and the second to block projectiles. And for example, Shadow Clone is really good for void saving because it just TPs you to the top of the arena, or you can use the default Trowel to save you as well. The other purpose to block projectiles and rockets, it's just really useful because, for example, default Trowel just uses one bricks and it can block any sort of projectile, no matter if it's rocket or Super Ball. And yeah, it's just very useful. So always use your Trowel and Super Ball. And let's move on to the next tip. So a major tip in order to be successful in Super Doomspire is to have a main loadout. This is very important because it is legit impossible to master every single tool in Super Doomspire. So always stick with one loadout and master it, practice with it, and eventually you will accomplish anything with your loadout. And yeah, I've seen a lot of noobs having a bad habit that if they either lose in a match or in a PvP with a pro, then they will be using the specific tools that the pros are using in their 1v1, because they obviously want to be as good as the pro. But what they don't realize is that the pros, they main a loadout and they have practiced and mastered their loadout, and that is how they became a pro, and it's not because of switching into good weapons. So always keep in mind that having a main loadout and practice with it is one of the key tips for being a pro. So just choose a loadout that you like to use, and there isn't any right or wrong about it, and practice with it, master it, and you'll eventually get pro and good with it. And yeah, so for the first tip, think about the combos before deciding your main loadout that you will stick forever. So I'm not saying that you don't stick with the loadout that you like, but actually you need to think about how do you get pro with the loadout, and how are you gonna surpass all of your opponents in Super Doomspire in order to be a pro, right? So basically, for example, for my loadout, I thought a lot about my loadout, and I thought that Bow and Remote Detonator is a one-shot combo, so why not have them both in my loadout? And maybe Scope Shot Rocket, which occasionally does 70 damage if it's not direct hit, so why not add that 70 damage with a lunge to make 105 damage and to completely kill a person. So think about the combos that you can do with a loadout and practice with it and master it, and you'll get good. So for the first tip, I've seen a lot of noobs in the public server. They don't do anything if their rocket or if their lunge is in cooldown, and that is just so wrong, because there's actually so many possibilities, and the possibilities are technically endless in Super Doomspire. Either you go for a Super Ball, either you go for a bomb, either you go jump click with their sword equipped to have a cycle jump. Just do something, guys. More about the jump cycle click that you're gonna do a lot if your items or tools are in cooldown. A thing that you always need to do for extra mobility, or if you just don't have anything to do, is to equip your sword and jump click, which makes you do the cycle jump thing. And it's just so useful for mobility wise, because you can basically jump very high and move pretty quickly, and it's just a way better option than just walking. So here's a demo on how you do it. So for the next clip is actually kind of specific, but it's actually very important if you want like very good KDR and if you want to minimize the time you die. And it is to do not lunge in low health. This is very important because I see a lot of noobs, no matter what health they're on, they just lunge at their enemy and do as much damage as they think they could. But what they don't know is that when the opponent just clicks once and they're basically dead. And this is like a very bad habit, because you want to retreat and zone away if you're low health, obviously, because you really want to minimize the time you die and maximize the kill, right? So that's how you get good KDR. And to do that, you got to know when in like any sort of occasion to like zone away, or either to lunge and engage with the opponents. And this is very important. So for the next tip, I actually asked my bestie, which I've actually trained him as a beginner SDS player, and he said that he had some trouble buying what he wants in Super Doomspire. So I thought about this tip about always buying the original weapon and not buying the reskins, because the reskins usually take up a lot of money. And I'm not saying that like we don't have enough money to buy SDS weapons, because SDS weapons are actually very cheap, but like for beginners, obviously they'll struggle a bit on the finance of Super Doomspire. And I'm just saying to always buy the original weapon and not buy the reskin when you first start Super Doomspire and managing your main loadout. And yeah, that's basically tip 6. This is actually one of the biggest procedures to become a pro, and actually the most time consuming procedure, and that is to, after having a main loadout, try accommodating 1v1s with pros, or just play with your friends, pro friends in VIP servers, and analyze what you can basically change in your main loadout in order to surpass other players in the pro level SDS. So for example, I before used Shadow Dragon, and right now I've changed to Laser Cannon, and this is because Laser Cannon has extra mobility, which I've thought about is very important on my loadout, because my bow and remote detonator cannot handle all of the close combat that pros usually use on me, and that is basically my biggest weakness. So after having Laser Cannon, my mobility is way better, and right now I'm in a much more pro level with my main loadout. For the next tip that I will be giving you guys is either use shift lock or neutral cursor aim, and I would say that it's probably like a half situation for me, since I usually use shift lock in order to lunge or to detonate my remote detonator, but I use my neutral cursor in order to aim better with my bow and with my scope shot. So I would honestly suggest you guys to use the neutral cursor if you want to aim better and have better like shots. And if you just use banana rang or just weapons with very huge hitbox, then just go for shift lock, because shift lock, it lets you a lot of advantage, especially on controlling your torso. So for the following tip, I will be teaching you guys the most efficient way in order to get rid of a Doomspire and let it tip the correct direction instead of making it more troublesome and tipping it so that it will fall to the battleground. Since tipping Doomspire is basically the way to win a match in Super Doomspire, it is fairly important especially to players which actually want to play the game correctly. So here's a quick demo that I recently recorded on how to actually tip a Doomspire correctly. So you guys can apply it in your own usage in Super Doomspire, so enjoy. So for the last tip is where things gets intense. So if you want to be a pro in Super Doomspire, it also means to actually getting into the wider community and not letting as much people hate you in Super Doomspire. And by doing that, I want to say that before you decide any weapons in your main loadout, just don't use the following weapons: Crystal Blaster, Ball Turret, Shadow Blade, Trampoline Trowel, and Hatarang if you're planning to use it with Crystal or Star, because those are just the most poopy, disgusting, hazardous, cancerous weapon in the whole game. And guys, just don't use it if you have skills. Just don't use it, man. It's really just that simple. Just don't use those weapons and you'll eventually not get judged by the Super Doomspire Pro community and you're gonna be good to go. So I really hope that by stating those obvious mistakes and tips in Super Doomspire, it will actually help you get good and help you be in the pro community in Super Doomspire. And yeah, guys, just good luck and do the following tips that I suggested and you guys will be good to go. And I really hope that I can help as much people here in Super Doomspire. And peace out, guys.